Hello everyone, and welcome to the Voice of Terminus show, this special show that we're doing today. Before I introduce everybody here, we're here to mourn and celebrate the passing of a great man, a visionary that touched literally thousands upon thousands of people across the world with his virtual worlds that he created for us. And yesterday, Basgrim, did a community memorial, and Brass reached out to me because we originally had a different show planned, and after the sad news reached us, we put that aside and wanted to do something different, and Brass was willing to come on and join us here, and it goes to show that we are unified as one. Community matters, that, you know, was Brad's vision and passion, and VR's of course as well. It goes to show that it meant a lot to him, and with this we want to say thank you to the man and remember him. And we have with us today Josh. Say hello, Josh.
Hi guys.
We have Alexa with us. Say hello.
Hey everybody.
And Basgrim.
Hello.
In the background we have Shy. Say hello, Shy.
Hi everyone.
And our honoured guest, Brass. Hello.
Hello.
So, our show is going to be in two formats. We will inform you when the time comes. We will be holding a minute's silence for Brad. We will let you all know, and we do ask that everybody also in chat takes that moment. Nobody types during that time to remember the guy. So, Josh, I'll pass it on to you to give you a personal moment to share your feelings, your thoughts. The stage is yours, mate.
Well, thank you. Well, when I heard the news, I was just shocked. It was a WTF moment for me. I never thought. I thought the man was invincible, and it was just a massive shock to me. I've come to know Brad through the likes of Yonella and through the Voice of Terminus over the years, and it all started for me back in South Africa on a modem, 64K modem, trying to download Everquest back in the day. It took forever. The lines dropped pretty easily back then, so we'd fall in and out of trying to play on the thing. But that's where the world just truly opened for me, and it was amazing times. I then moved across to Everquest 2, and during that period, I met my wife, not on Everquest 2, but I introduced her to Everquest 2. And every day we would race home just to want to get into the world, to experience it, to enjoy it together, and had amazing times in that. And the amount of people that we met online was also truly amazing. Some of my oldest friends are still in the US that I met in the first guild playing Everquest 2. And so it's continued. And even though I didn't know Brad back then, and after learning what Brad had done for Everquest 2, Vanguard, and now Pantheon, he has truly touched my life. And I just say thank you. Thank you to him.
Very nice. Baz?
Yeah, I mean, what do you say about a guy that if it were not for him, that I don't know where I would be. I don't know who I would be. That's the kind of effect he had on people. And so me growing up playing Everquest, like that ignited a spark in me, like that the passion that has kind of just led me to where I am today, and it's shaped the way that I live my life. And so I'll always have him to thank for that, because that passion that he ignited me, like that's what keeps me going day to day. I would probably, like I said, I don't know what my passion would be if it weren't for MMOs. I would probably be I have no idea, genuinely. So and knowing too that I'm not the only one that has like that, like, and I think we'll later in the show, read some examples of people that, like, if it were not for Everquest and all of the resulting MMOs, like, there's stories about people that relied on it to get them through depression or whatever the case may be. It's like they fell back because EQ was that escape for them. And like, that's like deep stuff. That's not just the sort of thing where like he made a game and people had fun playing it. And it's like, yeah, that has some value, but it's like, this is like deep stuff where these games helped people to survive, and they say that maybe their life would not have been so well lived if it weren't for Everquest. And then the fact that they can go on after that and leave their own imprint on the world, and when you can trace all of that back to ultimately Brad's genius in creating Everquest, like it's mind blowing. It really is. It's very surreal still.
Yeah. Thanks, Brad. Lex?
There's not many things in my life that I regret. But one of the things would certainly be that I never had a chance to thank Brad, because, which we'll hear later on in more detail, he is the source of virtually everything good that's ever happened in my life.
Are they okay?
No. I'll go into it more later, but I'm just going to leave it like that, short.
Thank you. Brass?
Yeah, as I put in social media when I was just promoting this at the very last minute, it's really hard to sum up the meaning of a life that provided so much to not just to myself, but to everybody who played the game. Like many others, I was one of those people where I could literally, not just that, it also put me in touch with the best people that I know now. I met my future husband in Everquest. I met all of our best friends in Everquest. I never would have dreamed in working in online games if it hadn't been for Everquest. One thing I do have to say is that Brad was the spark, the creative spark that drove this game and brought it to us. Let us never forget that he did not do it alone. He was part of a team that grew over the years. Some people who worked every bit as hard as he did and put their hearts and souls into it together. And a lot of these people are equally devastated by his loss. And you can see them posting comments all over social media. Smed can't fire me now, so I'm going to go ahead and read a quote from him later on in the show, because his random stories of Brad kind of bring to a point the sort of effect that Brad had on everybody that worked with him. I had the good fortune to get to know him a little bit. My first interaction with the real live Brad was at probably my first fanfare, where I went dressed up as a dwarf because I was so incredibly introverted. Little did I know at the time that the only person more introverted than me in the entire world was Brad. But somehow we ended up striking up a conversation, and he encouraged me to keep doing the cosplay, that it wasn't stupid, that it was a great expression of who I was, and you showed my passion for the games that I play. And I really appreciated that. So yeah, I kind of went with the cosplay thing for many, many years. The other thing was a couple of years ago, yeah, not that long ago, sometime in 2018, I was on a panel with Brad, and we were talking about how much community influences games and what happens if you don't listen to the community when they're influencing games. This is something that he would, or when they're talking about games and making quests, sorry. This is something that he was incredibly passionate about, and he was the first one to be on the stage and say, yeah, mea culpa, we made some dumb mistakes because we didn't listen to players. And he said he didn't really realize that the game wasn't his anymore, that it was no longer his vision, because once players got in there, he says they just got in there and they made it their own. It became our world. You know, it was everybody's world. It wasn't just the thing that he came up with. And the only other thing I'm going to say is that in addition to being one of the most introverted people I knew, and that giving me a lot of strength to talk to other people myself, he was also incredibly humble. When we went to the EQ 20th anniversary that Holly Longdale and the Daybreak crew put on, where I got this amazing Everquest 20th anniversary glass, he said he felt out of place. He says, you know, I'm not really all that important to what happened here with Everquest. And everybody around him was going, no, dude, you are the person who wrote that document, the Holy Grail, the thing that changed the way that games worked, that changed lives. But he never did accept that he was this brilliant guy. He just liked to think of himself as being perfectly ordinary. And that's important. We know that Brad had feet of clay. We know he wasn't perfect. He's almost as flawed as I am. But that is probably why we identify with him so much as well. He is just like us. He's made mistakes. He's had high points. He's had low points. He's struggled. He's achieved glorious things. It's something to aspire to. And that's about all I can say right now before I have to have another little sip of anesthetic here so I can get through the rest of the cast. Thank you for having me on here. Love you, Brad.
You're more than welcome, Brass. So we're going to share some stories now from the community, and this is going to show how Brad touched people, reached people in an indirect and direct level. And this is from a fellow guildie of mine, Resum. I'm going to read his story now. It was 2004, my sophomore year of high school, when I started to experience deep feelings of depression. All my demons caught up to me at one moment in time, and the only time I really felt alive is when I would self-mutilate myself. The scars from the cuts and burns I still carry with me to this day. As a cry for help, I set my school on fire and spent the next year at school that was housed at a detention center, because no district would accept my transfer. I was abandoned by those who I thought were friends, shunned by my family, and hit an all-time low in my life. I thought, what's the point of going on? I saw an ad for Everquest Online Adventures one day, and it talked about this mystical world where you could be anything or anyone. And at that time, being anyone else sounded like the perfect escape. Little did I know it would be my salvation. I logged in every day straight. My class was a warrior, because he could take a licking much like myself. I joined a guild called the Black Dragon Society. My guildies, my friends, my new family. Those I could talk to without judgment. Those who were excited to see me log in and ask, how's your day going? And invest in my life. When I would play beside them, I evolved from a warrior who could take a beating into a warrior who wanted to protect, who wanted to be better in game than he was in the outside world. I may take those old scars with me through life, but I also took demeanor of EQ Online Adventures with me as well. It transformed my life of depression into a life of meaning and hope. Even though Brad never knew the impact his creations truly had on us gamers, he changed a lot of lives. He gave us more than a world of escape to escape to, but gave us characteristics from those games that we carry with us always, that give hope and meaning. Light when times are dark, and friends when you feel alone. Thank you doesn't feel enough, but carrying on your legacy through Pantheon will be the honor he deserves.
Fantastic. Right, so I'll be reading a letter from Lady Shina. I read the news. Well, actually the news was shared with me last night, and my heart just shattered. I just wanted to say a few things about this man. As I wrote on the forums, I was so blessed to have been able to tell him in voice, if not in person, just how much his dreams of new worlds meant to people. I know so many people, including myself, who were literally saved by Everquest, Vanguard, and other games he created. I have known people who were lost in life that found a place because of him. I know people who were lost in the depths of depression and darkness and found a light again because of him and his visions. I know of people who have found the loves of their lives through his creations. I was so pleased and happy I was able to tell him these things, not only for those who were never able to nor had the opportunity to, but also for myself, that he was a light in the dark for so many people over the last 20 years. He may not have known, or maybe he did. I don't know if he had been told before. I'm sure he did. But he had grace and humility in answering me, saying he was humbled by these words, and it meant a lot to know that his worlds meant so much to so many. I will miss him, not only as a designer of worlds and fun, but as a human being who flawed, like most of us, was still an epitome of humanity, and we should honor his memory by supporting Pantheon. He was a man loved by many, not only just by friends and family, but by people who saw the worlds his visions built. Pantheon will live on, and I'm sure that it too will reflect his unwitting ability to make a bunch of pixels come alive. And I'm sure that in many ways, it will reflect his light into a new world, touching new people and giving them a taste of his dreams. Godspeed, and we will see you again one day, my friend. You will be missed more than you will ever know. But rest well and be secure that your dreams will live on. To me, you will always be remembered as that green-armored warrior mage, with your flaming sword held high, lighting the way for the rest of us to follow.
Very nice. Lex?
Well, I'm just gonna start this out by saying this is my own personal story. And there's details there that I don't really share. Never really have. I'm gonna do my best to get through it, but we'll see. So, I grew up in a pretty remote little town. Never had any friends. When I was 9 years old, my family became abusive. My father had lost his job. He just had another kid, my sister, and he took to the bottle. I didn't like him yelling and screaming at my mother. Every time he went close to my sister's room, I I would get in his way. Well, that went on for quite a few years. And I started smoking. I took to alcohol, any substance I get my hands on to kind of just make things better for a while. At 14, I got kicked out of the house, and I kept going back, if only for a night or two. Just keep my sister safe. So, on top of all that, I had to grow up very quickly. I had to get a job to help pay for their house, their utilities, so that my family didn't freeze during the winters. I also had to go to school. As a result, I had to take some very disgusting jobs, we'll say, that nobody should be doing, especially someone who is young. Well, by the time I had hit 17, I had resolved to take my own life on my birthday. I felt it was almost poetic. Well, I want to say Everquest was released on the 16th of March in 1999. It was a week of my birthday, and I logged into Everquest. For the first time, it didn't matter that I was poor. It didn't matter that I had speech problems. It didn't matter that I didn't know how to be around people. I didn't have to hide bruises or make excuses. The first time I grouped up with somebody, we roamed around Tox Forest for probably 3 hours. Never knew the person. When they were ready to go to bed, they thanked me for hanging out with them. Said they had a lot of fun and that they couldn't wait for me to be back so that we could adventure more. And I'm not too proud to admit that I sat on a milk crate at a cinder block desk with a pile of junk cobbled together PC, and I bawled my eyes out. I think for a lot of years, that was the first time I had gone to sleep without being intoxicated, not being so drunk I couldn't stand. I'm not saying that another game like WoW or Anarchy Online or any of these other games that came along couldn't provide me with the chance to make a friend like that. But what I am saying is that without it, I would not be here. There's just no way. Even when I had really bad days, I would log in, and people would be nice to me. And I could tell them, one or two people I could tell of things that happened. Being on the internet, there's not a lot you can do, but they did what they could. They gave me hope. They kept me from feeling alone. Okay. Through the rest of my Everquest career, I met friends that I've met with person. I've lived with them. I met my wife, freaking Vox Raid, and we were friends for about 12 years before we got married. In fact, next month will be our 7th year. Because of Everquest. Because of Brad. I have more to live for now than I ever thought I ever would. And, like I said, the only regret I really have is that I never had a chance to thank him. All right, next.
Thanks.
Well, I'm just going to jump in here and say the only thanks Brad ever needed was the support of people like you for Pantheon. So believe me, he has heard your thanks just by your being around for this game.
Baz?
Yeah. Thank you, Lex. I know he had to step away, but that takes a lot of strength to do that, and I will not have to follow that up with my own personal story because I will be reading a story from someone. This is from Libwick. He says, longtime player of EQ2 WoW, and close follower and pledger of Pantheon here. When I was young, the worlds Brad envisioned and inspired gave me a place to escape a toxic homesteading, which was a necessity to preserve myself at that time. Those worlds, especially Everquest, for me, were a priceless escape. Also, as an entrepreneur myself now, I've been deeply inspired by Brad as a visionary and the way he went about his business matters. I've learned what a small, independent, amazing team looks like, how he led them in the industry with wholesome values refined by an entire life of focused experience, how those values inspired and delineated this froth-worthy Pantheon world. I find him a true model to follow in these regards, which I don't think will ever change. So, another priceless gift. The impact he's had on millions is immense and hard to measure, and his legacy will just keep compounding on that. Surprisingly, what he stood for seems more present now, and so infinite gratitude to Brad McQuaid, and cheers to an Eriduin caliber legend of real life.
Thank you, Baz. Lex, I'll give you some time, so I'm going to jump in here real quick and read the story of Boach, and then you can share those tweets when you're ready. So, this is from Booch. The other night I was playing Everquest on the new Miracle server, and I had to stop for a second to think about the sheer scope of what Brad had created. I think every generation there are a few people in every aspect of life that excel above all others. Music, theatre, technology, and so forth. Brad must have been one of those few people. Took an idea, turned it into a complete world that actually worked perfectly. Then to take it a step further, you can compare it to the first of its kind in any other field. Everquest was the first of its kind and the best of its kind. A walk-off home run. When does the first of anything remain relevant 20 years after its creation? Everquest not only remains relevant, it is to this day the standard by which all MMORPGs are measured. That never happened. Then the guy has the balls to say, "Here, hold my beer," and he creates Vanguard, which I'm convinced, if it was polished on release, would be the game we would all still be playing today.
Alright, I'm good.
Alright, Lex.
Sorry about that. So I'm just going to read a couple tweets. I'm not going to go through names or anything like that. Just to give people an idea of, what people have been thinking. I don't even know what to think. Brad was literally the reason we have great MMOs today. The reason we are all enjoying ESO, WoW, and Final Fantasy XIV is because of Brad. For those of you who didn't know, Brad McQuaid was a game designer on Everquest, an early MMO that was a huge influence on the development of WoW. He is responsible, along with others on the team, for some of the first raids in MMOs. He was a pioneer and will be missed. We never met, but his video games sent me on a lifelong epic quest. Rest in peace, Brad, a brilliant mind that brought Everquest to life and defined the MMO genre. We should all remove our hats for Eridoon, a forefather of the modern MMO genre. Brad was a key figure in the development of Everquest, without which we may not have had a World of Warcraft. Rest well, Brad. An inspiration to myself for creating Everquest, which influenced me and my artwork, and told a little ranger in the Plane of Hate that he could defeat any monster. Brad was a genius in video game development and has been rightfully revered. As PC Gamer referred to him, a game god. Anyone who has ever played an MMO for the past 20 years. I am heartbroken at the passing of Brad McQuaid, a man who did so much for those who share a passion for gaming. Brad will always be my #1 man crush. Blessed and honored to have been able to call him a friend, and for all the silly, humorous conversation. I just wanted to throw my thanks into the internet. You brought me joy in Everquest for years that not only shaped my online future, but most of my life. If it wasn't for Brad, games like World of Warcraft and Guild Wars 2 would likely never exist. I don't even know what to say. Within minutes of starting Everquest in 1999, it hit me with a feeling that no other game ever has. Sometimes I can close my eyes and picture it for a second, and an ounce of that feeling returns, and I get goosebumps. His never-ending contributions to the MMO industry is unmatched, and I will always have a place in my heart for my first MMO, Everquest. And that's all I managed to get down.
Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing. You can see that, he's touched so many people from all different ventures of life, from all different places across the world. You know, and it's true. Brad will be missed, but he will never be forgotten. Brass, would you like to say anything in addition to what you've just heard?
You know, I will never run out of stories for EverQuest, the developers who made that game, and the players who inhabited that world. So, you know, really, don't get me started. We will be here all night. But is this the point where I can read the thing by John?
You can do it now, yes.
Oh, yes, I'm totally doing this. Let me get my glasses so I can do him justice. Now, first, you have to pretend that I'm very tall, very imposing, indefatigable, and have conquered worlds. I will say this as well. I know that a lot of people have really ragged on John Smedley and SOE for ruining Vanguard. I'm here to say that without John Smedley and SOE, Vanguard never would have made it to publish. So sure, it wasn't perfect, but at least we got what we did. Anyway, I love John. I have tremendous respect for him. I thank him for giving my first chance in the game industry. I'm still astonished that he hired me, and I'm sure he regrets it to this day. But guess what? I'm going to read this thing that he posted to Facebook, and he can't fire me now. It's called Random Brad Stories. So this is pretty typical John Smedley stream of consciousness stuff, which I love him for. During the development of Everquest, Brad introduced me to Magic the Gathering. I'll never forget the countless lunchtimes and weekend games we played during the development of EQ. It had a huge impact on the game and brought the team a lot closer because we had this common love of Magic. I think part of the reason EQ was successful was because of the camaraderie that grew over time from this daily ritual. My favorite part of this were the daily, massively multiplayer games of Magic with 10 people sitting around a conference table playing 150 card decks and carrying the meta from 3 weeks ago into that day's game. And by meta, I mean repaying old debts and messing with our friends each and every day. It was a ridiculous amount of fun, and it's a time in my life that I'm never going to forget. And Brad was at the center of this whole glorious mess. This also reminds me of the time I traded all of my Magic cards, including a complete Power 9 set, to Brad for a motorcycle. For whatever dumb reason, I decided I wanted a motorcycle, and Brad offered to trade a new bike for my Magic collection, which was pretty good at that point. We went to the motorcycle dealer, and he helped me pick out the right bike. I brought it home, and my wife hit the roof. She told me it could not be kept at our house under any circumstances, so I had to bring it to my parents' house like some 18-year-old kid. I ended up riding it a few times with Brad and had a great time riding, but a man's got to know his limitations, and a fat guy on a dirt bike is one of them. And yes, I do regret stupidly trading my Magic cards for that motorcycle, but I don't forget the fun time I had riding dirt bikes with Brad. I remember the original Everquest design. It wasn't particularly long, maybe 10 to 15 pages. I still have a copy somewhere I should try to find. Brad came into my office and handed it to me like he was handing down the 10 Commandments. Everquest ended up being 100% what was in that doc. To this day, I've still never seen a game that kept that vision from day one. We had spent many hours talking about the game we wanted to make. Brad had a clear vision in his head from day one. Most of what he was excited about came from his absolute love of Deku Muds. They had a real impact on how he thought about game design. In particular, Brad was always focused on the PvE aspects of making an online game. The idea that a bunch of friends can come together and delve into the depths of a dungeon together really resonated with both of us, but Brad really saw this as the cornerstone of what Everquest needed to be built on. And he was right then, and he's still right to this day. I remember Fanfare Zero very distinctly. Shortly after the launch of Everquest, we put up in our forums that we're going to Karl Strauss Brewery that evening, and any fans that wanted to come down and meet the team could join us. We went down, and there were 50 to 60 people waiting for us. We were floored. Brad was over the moon excited. Nothing could compare to the excitement I saw in Brad's eyes when he got to meet one of his heroes from comic books, artist Jim Lee. To Brad, meeting Jim was the greatest moment in his professional career. He was beyond flattered that Jim played EQ and was gushing about the game. That was the moment Brad knew that we were really onto something. It brought him a lot of joy to see how much of the game meant to the fans. It was a real seminal moment for all of us, but Brad in particular really got a lot of satisfaction seeing how much the game brought people together. I remember sitting in the cold data center not long after the launch of Everquest. At that point in time, it was damn hard to keep the servers up and running for long periods of time. We were still learning how to run the game, and a bunch of us took shifts in the data center rebooting the machines after servers crashed. This was before we had automated anything, so it was all about hitting the power switch and sitting our asses in a freezing cold data center for hours at a time. During one of these times, I remember Brad coming down for his turn, and we had to migrate users from one particular box to another one. Our network programmer had assured us that there was a long enough buffer time that if we physically moved one network jack to a different machine, the server would automatically just migrate the players if we could move the wire in under 20 seconds. Well, it worked. Barely, but it worked. And I can remember laughing pretty loud with Brad that it did. Okay, that trick did not always work, as we found out the hard way a few times. So many good memories from working with Brad. I will miss him. And I just want to add that further down, Mike Butler, who is the head of CS for Pantheon and who has been best friends with Brad since kindergarten, if you could imagine, since kindergarten. Brad eventually gave him that Power 9 set of magic cards that he got from Sped to Mike because he said, Mike, you need a better set of cards. So really, that's the kind of guy that we're dealing with here and why he is so loved and missed. Okay, I got through that. Thank you. Thank you, Smed. Thank you, Brad, for making these worlds possible.
Yes, indeed. Thanks for sharing that wonderful story. So now we're going to go and look at a tribute that Synix from Vanguard Emulator has done for Brad. It's a short video that Minus shared with me. Got his hand, basically recorded it for me and sent it my way so we could share this. We tried to organize that in yesterday's stream with Basgrim, but we'll be doing it now. So I'll be sharing that, and we can enjoy this footage of people paying tribute to Brad in one of his creations. Such a wonderful, wonderful gesture. A wonderful way to honor the man he was. So Sinux, thank you very much for that contribution. You definitely made a lot of people happy, and you honored him the right way. Thank you for that. And now we're going to look at what Brad did, what Brad has done over the years. We're going to look at the Everquest trailer, followed by the Vanguard trailer, and then we will go into a minute's silence. So enjoy this. This is the original Everquest trailer.
It is rumored amongst the most intelligent races of NORAD that first came the dragons. The great crystalline dragon, ruler over the plane of sky, deposited life onto a lifeless planet, and with one swipe of her mighty claws, laid claim to the promise of a new world. NORAD quickly developed from infancy as brave explorers journeyed forth in search of fertile lands on which to build. Villages became towns. Towns became cities. Cities became kingdoms. Guilds and alliances formed, bound together through common goals and the sharing of ideas. The desires to grow beyond the common abilities of mere mortals introduced powerful skills, trades, and crafts. Wizards, sorcerers, and enchanters mastered powerful magic and mystical arts. But alas, ignorance and innocence go hand in hand. It is the adventure of quest that awaits the bold and daring. It is the land of Everquest.
Now the Vanguard trailer. Those are Brad's worlds.
Amazing.
Yep.
I don't think I'd ever seen that Vanguard trailer before. Actually, that was cool. It's a shame that I never really had a chance to play that.
Yeah.
I wish I had. It seemed like it was really cool, and it's just I don't know. It's just crazy to think how much just passion he poured into all of his worlds, so I would have liked to have witnessed Vanguard even for a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. There were a lot of innovations in Vanguard that everybody really liked. One of the top requests we get on Pantheon right now is to include some form of the diplomacy element that Vanguard had, which people really loved.
Yep.
That's
That's
great.
a big one.
Sadly, I was late to the Vanguard train too, so
Me too. Yeah.
I completely relate with how Baz is feeling.
Yeah,
So,
it was. So all games, they really are a form of art. They're like an incredibly massive sculpture that happens to be totally animated and has a whole bunch of people running around within them. So you can imagine that as people progress through their careers, as Brad did, every time they have a chance to do it again, they have a chance to iterate and improve on their art. And it's really intriguing to see how things evolve over time. It's one of the things I love about Pantheon. And here I'm really going to drive you guys crazy by saying I get to log into the Pantheon test server anytime I want. Okay. And I wish I could just show you how it just feels to be in there. It really does feel like home. So hopefully we'll be able to bring that to you sooner rather than later in terms of alpha testing.
Very nice. So now I ask that everyone join in a minute of silence as we share the passing of Brad and mourn him and celebrate his life. I will have the ding start in a minute, and then I ask that chat as well, respect the minute silence, nobody type during that time. There will be 2 dings, one to start the minute silent and one to end it, and it will start right now. Thank you everyone for joining in that minute silent. And now let's celebrate the man that Brad McQuaid was. And this is a memory I think that everybody can relate to. And it kind of describes and shows the passion that he had and the person that he was. Everybody will remember this. This is a scene from his stream with Jim Lee, as we found out, is one of Brad's idols and great friends, and everybody will remember this. So let's enjoy this scene from Pantheon.
We meet again.
Oh, yeah. The mask that I had one of those masks. Nashura. Or is it silent G? What is it? Ganesh or Nash?
Nashra.
Nashura. Alright. This music's creepy. GG, Brad. See you later, dude. Do you guys hear him screaming on the other side? Oh, ow!
I'm tanking the boss.
Oh yeah! Oh no! Yeah, you are.
Man.
Can you open this? No. All right. Well.
Everybody remembers that, and you know, I wish I would have had the chance, you know, to sit there with him and live a moment like that in Pantheon. You know, it's very hard. You know, but it goes to show this guy was just so influential. So he had that magical aura to draw people in, and so now I want to share something. I reached out to Jopper in the VIP Discord because he said something very, very important, I think, that the community as a whole needs to hear. It's personal as well. It touches on his career with Brad, and it's something we all need to hear, because this is important. This is what this is about. We're here together, and VR want to finish what he started and do him justice. So let me read this for you guys. This is from Jopper. For nearly 6 years, Brad and I have dreamed together, laughed, bantered, yelled at each other, listened to each other, spoke hard truths and love, sharpened each other and pushed each other towards greatness. We confided in each other, we respected each other, we loved each other as brothers. I have lost a true friend. Brad had the unique gift of taking what was his and fueling others with it. He could see the fire on the inside of people, and he knew how to fan it in a unique way. He did this with me. I was a high school teacher that he took a chance on, and as I look back, he was there for me every step of the way. He played an integral role in shaping who I am today. Every one of us is here because Brad didn't give up on his dream of making epic fantasy worlds. He fought battles we will never know and withstood unrelenting opposition at different points in his life and career to keep that dream alive. It is not a light legacy that he leaves to us. It is one of dauntless, relentless conviction, and it inspires us to the core to carry it onward. Pantheon community, put away your doubts whether Pantheon will be finished. We will see you in Terminus, and it will be a glorious day indeed. For now, our hearts are heavy, but we will always continue onward and upward. Now, that's the passion that you know, everyone has. And I thought it was very important that we shared this piece from Jopper, because there are a lot of people out there that now worry, that have doubts, that have fears. And VR are committed, just as we as a community, just as people like Basgrim, Pantheon Plus, the VOT are committed to help support VR, to help them get this game finished, to bring it out. We're in this together. Brass, would you like to add to this?
Okay, how many hours do I have? It was just a little, it was about a year ago, I guess, when I was first approached by Pantheon. Hey, would you like a part-time job? We can't pay you very much. And yeah, I was immediately all over it, because not only did they have Brad, and again, let's talk about the fact that this is a team, they also had a tremendous number of other people whom I respected greatly. It's largely a remote team. They're spread all over the world. We've got Canadians, Americans, we had some people in Germany, and the freaking Australians who are just incredibly driven and passionate about this thing. And I think that's what we really have to remember, is that it's Brad drove all of this. But let me just read just a little bit here. I posted this to the forums, and because I'm having trouble keeping my shit together today, sorry for the language, I can't help it, I'm just going to read it again. Says, the entire team is devastated by this tragic loss. However, it is a team fully committed to the passion project of Pantheon, which could never have been completed by one person. Brad's vision has imbued and driven the heart of this game and inhabits every aspect of its essence. His family has already given its blessing for the Pantheon family to carry on, and so it shall. The team is working on the upcoming video newsletter for November, saddened but not diminished. Now, the important thing there, oh man, we were going to put out the video newsletter this week on Thursday, actually, and clearly that just wasn't going to happen because we were shattered. Instead, for this entire week, we use Skype for communications, and our Skype channels for the team were active 24/7 throughout the whole period as people came to terms with what happened, came to terms with the loss, and also came to the terms with the fact that, you know what, we already have the vision. We already have everything that Brad wanted for this game. We know what it is. It's already in the DNA of the game. It's not something that you could even change now if you tried without starting over and starting a whole brand new game. I know you guys have all seen snippets of Project Fairthale. We hope to bring more of that to you over time. But I'm particularly excited about that because it really is a tremendous zone. Anyway, so some of the team went off yesterday and played in the Vanguard emulator just to feel a sense of spiritual camaraderie with Brad. But there is no question that he is always going to be with us on this project. And the live stream, which we were going to do on Thursday, we're going to do on Tuesday instead. It's all part of the ongoing commitment that the team has to continue bringing more and more information about the game as we move forward. I will also say that the team, and I mean, what are they going to do? Fire me? No problem. I'm still going to be hanging around being the world's #1 biggest fan for this game, even if they do fire me. Yeah, they're talking to potential investors and publishers, and that's awesome. And I mean talking about this since Brad passed, so the interest is still there. We've actually seen a lot of people stepping forward to upgrade their pledges and new pledges coming in, which was kind of the last thing we expected would happen right about now. But it shows that people do understand this vision and the passion that the team have. And I think that there is not one person on the Pantheon team right now who is not completely committed to getting this game out there and published. I actually no. Okay, wait. First we have to go into alpha. No, I don't have a date for you yet. Ha! Same as usual. But once it gets into alpha, then we're going to fulfill the part of Brad's vision, which says community matters. We need to have your input. We need to know how you guys feel about this alpha. And really, that's why they've put it off for so long. They want to make sure that you have something really useful to work with so that you're not distracted by minor stupid bugs, so that you can look at the gameplay, the world, the process, how an entire zone is built from top to bottom, and then provide your feedback. That really was all part of Brad's plan. And yeah, we're going to get there. Besides, if Chris Perkins says we're going to do it, we're damn well going to do it. You can't say no to Chris.
Or he'll drag you kicking and screaming.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it, yeah.
And it's something I was talking to Baz yesterday about as well, that it is equally important for us content creators to be the backbone for VR as well. And that's why, you know, Baz did his memorial service yesterday. That's why we're here today. It's equally important that we, as the community ambassadors, so to speak, you know, carry on, strengthen VR, and, you know, be there for everybody. You know, we are all going to see this game finish no matter what, and you know, it's going to happen. It's definitely going to happen. No matter how hard it's going to be, how long it takes. I just want to let VR know that, hey, we have your backs. Okay? The community has your backs. And it is true what you said, Brass. So many people have reached out and said they are going to upgrade their pledge. A lot of new people have come in to support the game, to make sure it gets finished. Ultimately, it's going to come down to one thing. We all together, VR, us, as the community, have to make sure it's done right, that it is done correctly as an ultimate testament, because that is what Brad is leaving here. He is leaving an ultimate testament to the gaming industry. This is his final world we will get to see and live in and call home. So, you know, VR, we will be there to support you, to remind you when you're down, when you're stuck, when you're lost, in which direction you need to go. So we're there to support you guys. That's what I wanted to say.
I would add to that too, kind of some of the things that back when a lot of people know that I really kind of got my start in the community just as a avid forum goer and just reading on the forums and posting on the forums. Like, the forums were my home, and in that, and Brad was good about interacting with people on the forums and posting on the forums and stuff. And there are some of his posts that still particularly stick out to me. And one of which
Are you going to read one?
No, I should have. They just kind of like popped in my head. Yeah, I should.
Hey, new idea for a new stream for you, right?
Yeah, and Baz reads the forums. One of them though was just to paraphrase that that he had one. First of all, is that this was always going to be the last MMO that he made. And he said that this was always going to be the last one. He's like, this is it. He's like, and he used the analogy of like, it's like giving birth to a new child almost. Like the development, this is like the gestational period of you grow it, and then when it is born, though, there's still so much more work to be done post launch, and to grow it into a fully developed MMO, or a developed child, as you will. So in that vein, with that in mind, he's like, not only had he already mapped out the entire development process, but years beyond launch too, to make sure that that's the vision, to make sure that it doesn't just maintain its vision up until launch, but the expansions after that. Like, and I'm sure, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure he has this all in writing too. Like, it wasn't just up in his head. It's like, that's not lost. The fact that he had the foresight to be able to think, I mean, that's why he's regarded as a visionary, is because he could see that far ahead and see that, like, this is something, and that he was committed to seeing it through, not only up until launch, but for years, like 5-10 years after, because he was like, this is it. And so, yeah, I have no doubts that the team is intimately aware of what he wanted to do long term and are committed to that. And they're not. It's obviously it's a tragic loss and he'll be missed. But it's like, again, because he was so wise to tell everybody on the team and in the community about exactly what he wanted to do, and to ignite that fire in them, that, I mean, the path forward is clear as far as I'm concerned. So now it's just a matter of walking that path step by step by step.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that as well, I think all the team members and all the people that work with Brad will be galvanized to see the game through, to make sure that it is made to completion, to honor Brad and what he stood for in the community, to make sure that whoever looks down from, he'll see that he's thankful that that's what he was looking to create ultimately.
Lex, you want to add something?
I don't really think there's anything I can add.
Yeah.
So, go on, Brad.
In that case, something I want to add is that I'm particularly happy to be here on this stream, because one of the things that the team doesn't get to say often enough is that we really, really appreciate the community leaders who, it's not like you dictate what the community thinks. It's more like you galvanize the community. You give them all a place to go, to exchange ideas, to think about what we're presenting or not presenting, as the case may be. Yeah, believe me, we hear you a lot when you want the stuff sooner. I get that. We all do.
Sorry.
I would love to just have you guys all have access so that we could just sit around together in the starting zone and just have conversations. It's extremely important to the team to have this. Without you guys, without the community at large, and you guys being a focal point for this, we wouldn't be a game. What's the point in a party if nobody shows up? So we also, once we move into alpha, we expect to have you guys, taking point on the feedback, but also helping the players understand how to provide useful feedback. So for instance, feedback. This shit sucks. No, that's really bad feedback. So I'm hoping that you guys will go ahead and say, okay, yes, but what shit and how doth it suck? Let's get some detail. Let's find out what's going on. What are you really thinking? Yeah, are you sure it sucks, or do you just disagree with it? But that's one of the beautiful things about community that I've learned over my far too many years in this industry now, is the fact that we don't always agree on what's good and what's bad. We don't always agree with development. Development doesn't always agree with the players. Players definitely do not agree with other players. But somehow together, we're all going to fulfill the part of Brad's vision, which includes we really have to listen to the players and we really have to get them involved in what we're doing here. We only get one chance at this, and that's one of the reasons why Alpha isn't out yet, because you don't get second chances in this industry anymore. You cannot put out a bad product and go back 6 months later and say, hey, just kidding, here's all the other stuff that we didn't have before. That doesn't happen anymore. So bear with us. You put up with us. We'll put up with you. We'll go fishing together. It'll all be great. Awesome. I'm just saying that. I'm just trying to pre-commit them to putting fishing into the game, because I'd really like to see that. I know it's a dumb activity, but I can't help that I love fishing. Anyway, if you have any specific questions, I'm happy to sit here and make up answers.
The fishing, I was never fond of fishing, but the vision that VR have put forth in regards to fishing, I'm all over that. I want to see it in game. I want to experience it, because it definitely sounds very exciting.
Even I've got to admit that I generally stay away from fishing, even in MMOs where trade scaling is somewhat enjoyable. Just because to me it's always been boring. Like, gouge my eyes out with a spoon, boring.
Sure. But remember that fishing, here we go. We're going to have a really good conversation. See, this is what we're going to be doing for years to come. Here's why fishing's important. It's not about the fishing. It's about listening to the stories in chat and listening to people bitch and moan or celebrate their victories or start arguments about who should be the president of Uzbekistan or whatever it is that people are talking about. Fishing is just something that gives us something to make us feel useful while we're doing things. And then the fish pile up, and then you can make them into other stuff. And then, you've got a whole new skill. It's just, seriously, it's just like real life fishing, okay? You don't go fishing because it's something you do to think, reflect. And luckily in MMOs, unlike real life fishing, you can talk to other people.
See, this is a little embarrassing. I've never been fishing.
Nor have I, in real life.
I can fix that.
I don't know if you want me around a sharp object on a string.
We can try that in Cologne at some point, Brass. At the dam.
Yes, we should definitely do that.
But see, the thing is, my wife, she loves fishing. absolutely adores it because to her it's relaxing. She can literally sit at her PC with a book and fish, which is great for her and people that share that kind of enthusiasm for it. But what I've heard about fishing actually has me a little interested, I'm going to admit.
Okay, so remember, fishing is not battling a raid boss. So it is a very different sort of experience. So is crafting. Not everybody goes crafting, but I'll tell you this from my experience in working with MMOs. The people who are drawn to activities like fishing, crafting, managing the guilds, all of that sort of stuff, those are the social glue that keep us together. They are the people who steadfastly go out there and hold us all up. They're the old aunties of our online gaming family who say, you know, I'm just not into raiding. That's too hard. That's too stressful. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be the person who gets us all wiped. Instead, I'm going to be the social glue that keeps us communicating, because as we know, that is a massive part of the massive online world. And at the same time, they're the ones who are going to provide us with, and look what I have made for you. Here is your fish cakes. Here is your armor. Here is your magic potions so that you can go out and do awesome things. There really is a role for everybody in these games. So if you don't want to fish, support your local fishermen instead.
Well,
I'll buy them beer.
So everyone out there, the next time you log into any MMO and you see a harvester, a crafter, a fisherman, say thank you. Okay?
Social glue. Agreed. Totally agree.
So everybody's talked about this in VIP Discord, in the unofficial Pantheon Discord, in our Discord, in chats in various places. And I'm sure VR is listening and looking hard at this. I'm sure all of us here in chat, out there in Twitch, everybody that's tuning in, that will tune in on YouTube, on the VOD, will also have the same thought. How we would like to see Brad remembered in Pantheon. And this is something I wanted to talk about with everybody here.
I'm going to say that this is a huge focus for the team. And again, because everyone is in mourning, everyone's in a state of shock, all we can do is work and talk and plan. There will definitely be an Aradun in the game doing what we don't know. I'm hoping that he's not like a designated raid leader somewhere, because he is the world's worst tank ever that I have ever tried to heal in my life. You want to know? Oh, I think I'll pull this. And oh, this seems boring. I'm going to go pull some other crap now. You know, I'm going to miss that most of all. The fact that he just brought that, I don't give a shit, I'm just going to see what happens thing to everything. There will definitely be some version of Aradun in game. Right now, the team is arguing about how that's going to happen. I'm going to bet that they're going to open it up to community suggestions, because you guys might have something that they haven't even thought about yet. So feel free. Maybe somebody go start a post on the forums. I'm shattered now. I can't go back there, or I'm going to spend the rest of the evening crying. But somebody go start something. How we want Aradun in Pantheon, and we'll see what ideas pan out. But yeah, it's definitely going to happen. He's going to be totally green. And hopefully we'll be able to capture some of his spirit in there as well. We do have a brilliant freaking writer in game, and I'm sure that he will be employed to make sure that everybody knows exactly who Brad is and why he's important to Pantheon.
Sure.
Yeah. Was there even there? I don't even think there was ever even a shred of doubt that he would be immortalized somehow. Like, I see a lot of questions there, like, you guys need to do something, and it's like, that's not the question that you're going to be asking. There's never. I don't think there was. Yeah, exactly. The real question is how, and I think that's a valid question. I think because like you said, there's a lot of different ways. It's not about if, it's how.
Sure. And I can tell you right now that the team itself would riot and burn things down if it's going to be, oh yeah, we'll just put a statue of him in a town square somewhere. No, that's not going to freaking work. It's going to be something significantly more dynamic than that. And that's me promising on behalf of the team. Hey, Chris, I hope you're watching the show. Enjoy.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Brass's Skype blows up.
So on that note, I think the VOT, and Baz, you're invited to join this one as well. We'll have to do a show talking about how VR could possibly honor Brad in Pantheon. And
Already got 5 ideas for you.
Yep.
Save them.
I will.
We'll do a show on that after.
Here's my challenge. Start the thread in the forums, take those ideas, add them to your own personal ideas, and then have the show. I will totally tune in to watch that.
Challenge accepted.
Yes.
Baz, I guess starting the thread is up to you, mate.
Okay.
As another guest.
I wouldn't be surprised if there already is one.
There's gotta be.
There has to be, yeah. There has to be. So
it's very likely that there are 3 or 4 little threads going like that. I know that we haven't opened it up for discussion yet, but Baz, you just go on there and said, Brass said I should make an official thread. Here it is, and then we'll carry on from there. The people who have posted their own ideas here and there, some of them are on Twitter, some of them have been in Discord. They're all over the place, and we just need a place to consolidate them. Obviously, I don't know. I'm sure there are a lot of, I don't know. Come on. There are definitely a lot of armchair game designers out there who would love an opportunity to come up with something. Keep in mind that, it's still only 2020 almost. We're not going to be able to do all sorts of really cool 3D in your face, come live in your living room stuff. So let's keep things realistic. But I think that there are going to be some fantastic ideas.
We need to develop holographic technology just for Brad.
Sure.
You see, the thing is, we got challenged, and I spoke to Baz about this earlier on. The VOT only needs 5 words in a sentence to start a 2-hour speculation show, debate, discussion. That's the magic that we have. You say at least 5 words that describe anything, and we will make a show out of it and bring you tons of ideas. So, Brass, I think you're gonna lose that challenge.
Might even regret it.
No. It's how am I losing the challenge? If you come up with something amazing, I win the challenge.
True.
So, let's go and move on to everybody's closing statements. We'll start with you, Lex.
Well, I really don't think words could do Brad justice. There's no word in any language that you can put together into a sentence that would describe him accurately or even fairly. And the fact that he's gone, and let's be honest, way too early, is an absolute travesty. One that it can either make or it can break us. And thanks to Visionary Realms, I don't think it's going to break us.
Absolutely right. Josh?
Yeah, I think a number of the words that Lex has just said. I think that Brad leaving us too soon, that's for sure. And I will regret never shaking the man's hand at some point. I'm sure that would have happened at some point as well. But I just know that he will be honoured, and that Visionary Realms will take his vision forward.
That's good.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of right now is just how long it is going to take as a community to heal from this and to get through this. I think we'll be feeling the effects of this for a very, very long time. Like the first time that we experience Eridu in game, that's going to be an emotional moment, I think, for a lot of people. So this really has changed everything But again, so because we could have dozens of memorial streams and it still doesn't feel like it would be enough. Do you know what I mean? But there's always like I said last night, and I feel this very, very deeply, is that no matter what the situation is, there is always a path forward, and the only way to walk that path, whatever it is just one tiny little step at a time. And so that's what we'll do. And like I said, it's always easier with friends, and I just can't stress enough every time I have the opportunity just to emphasize how the grassroots activism, as you will, is so vital. It always has been, but even more so now, down to the micro level. Like you were talking about earlier, like, yeah, as us content creators, it is important that we do something, but it goes on every level, no matter who you are. If you want Pantheon, you want to experience the world, and you want it to be successful, there's some degree of responsibility to do something. It doesn't have to be a lot. You don't have to move mountains, but it's like just even retweeting Pantheon's tweets like takes 2 seconds. You might not even know how much of an effect that can have in the long run. So I'll just leave it at that.
Well said, Baz. Nothing more I can add. What Josh, Lex, yourself have said, absolutely right. We want this to succeed. We're in it together as a community, with hand in hand with the devs. Everybody is vital to this success. As Miners stated, finish it for Brad. That is now our number one goal. No matter what, is finish it for Brad, because that's how we honor the man. That's how we pay our respects, our tributes to him, and it's what he would want. So this is now our ultimate challenge that we have as an entire entity, is to stand fast with each other, push each other in the right way, in the right direction, be a pillar for one another, and to finish this man's vision, because it's far from over, and it's going to last a long time. Okay, so we're in this together, everyone. Hashtag community matters. Hashtag finish it for Brad is of utmost importance, more than ever now. And again, VR, we are all there for you guys. Yeah, we love you guys. If it ever gets hard, reach out to us. Everybody is there for you. Bass?
There really isn't a whole lot that I can add to that. Games come and games go. Some games do better than others. There's no guarantee that Pantheon, when it's finished, will live forever, really. But at the same time, what we know about games is that each and every decent game grows and builds a family. It's a weird family. It's an online family that spans the globe. And I don't think that we have really come to terms with what MMOs do for us. But Pantheon will definitely form another stage of that family. And much like Everquest, it'll give us all many, many memories to take forward into the future ourselves. And really, as humans, no one lives forever. There's only only one way off this planet, and that is we all pass. All we have is our memories. So let's get together and make good ones.
Yeah.
Well said. Thank you, everyone in chat, for joining us for this special stream. I will upload this straight after we have finished and said our goodbyes to YouTube for anyone to catch that couldn't be here live. We thank you all for showing up. It's been wonderful, and it's given us strength to do what we do day in, day out, and we couldn't be more thankful for all your support and Brass VR support as well, and you for coming on and joining us for this. So my last words are, thank you, Brad. You will be missed. We will never forget you. We will do you justice. Rest in peace, my friend. Everyone, see you soon.